The movement must continue. See, we let it go to sleep. This movement's got to be woke up again.
Hello, happy Friday, everyone, and thank you for tuning in again with me in the new year. This is our first episode in second season, and I'm so excited. Now, look, last year, it was very powerful. We had a lot of guests that just blew my mind. But I'm telling you, this season, this year, I have something up my sleeve, and it's going to be powerful. I cannot wait to share exactly who we are going to have on the show this season. And today I have Summer Dickerson with Women of the Well, and I'm so glad you took your time out to be with me today. I know it is cold outside. It is cold outside, and I did not want to take my gloves off. So we have a lot to talk about. There's a lot that is going on within her organization. I know a lot of you guys know who she is and familiar with the work that she does for women and here in the city. And I'm so glad that you are here again, like I said, here, because there is a lot that is going on that needs to be said, that needs to be shared, the information that can help individuals that need it. And can you tell everybody exactly, Summer, about your organization, who you are, and she's going to be with me this whole show. So stay connected with us, okay?
So first of all, thank you for having me today. It's amazing, very cold outside, but very warm in here. So, so I'm Summer Dickerson. I am the founder and executive director of Women of the Well Ministries. And what we do, we are a survivor-led organization that helps women coming out of human trafficking and domestic violence. We do housing, we do outreach, we do educational pieces. And then, we just do life with the community, because we really want the community, the women too, most definitely. We focus on a lot of women and building them up and helping them and just coming out of all kinds of different things, which we'll get into that. Right. But also men too, just the whole community as a whole, because this is our city. We all live here. Our children grow up here. And so, just want to be a part of the solution and not the problem.
Right. And I know I met you, about 2 years ago, and it's before everything had went on with the protests. But I met you in front of the courthouse for the first time, because you were down there advocating for your organization and for the women. And I remember that, and it was a lot of powerful women out there, different, coming from different sides of town, and you had different races out there, and we just stood together. And I remember that, and I said, sometimes you come across people, and you come across people, that are actually taking a chance and making a difference. Because I know before the show had started, we were talking about that, because we do this, we put our names and our face and things out there, but you really don't know the back history and the stories and what we go through. So why did you start this organization? Is it something that you went through personal, or is it someone that that you knew, or?
So I am a survivor of all these things. And it was just like I would hear the way people would talk about human trafficking and even domestic violence. I mean, I will say we came a little ahead on domestic violence, so we're doing a little bit better, but I just would get so frustrated because people would talk about it, and it was like they really didn't understand what was going on. Right. You know what I mean? They what Hollywood would teach you, or something, that might be going on the internet, they might talk about it, but a lot of people have this mentality, it doesn't happen here, and if it does happen, they have these crazy, ideologies of what they are instead of actually what it is. And so I just was like, I'm tired of being in rooms and no one can hear me, so they're going to hear me today.
Right. Yes, and that's why we're here. We created this platform on Unite Louisville, and I think a lot of times people don't know what to say and how to react Sometimes they ignore it. You know, like I was saying, you know, I was on at the Walgreens on First and Broadway, and there was a young lady, and she was talking to someone that was in front of me, and she was talking about how she was trafficked and the things that she was going through, and it just kind of blew my mind. You know, we really don't understand as far as how to help someone in that situation. You really don't, because you just, it's all around you, and it's covered up. A lot of times, even though with as we can see with all the stuff that's going on with the R. Kelly and what is her
The
name?
Maxwell Epstein case.
Yes, the Epstein case. And
Prince Andrew.
Right.
All of them, yeah.
And it's been going on for decades, for years.
Yeah.
You know, it really has, through, whether it's through politicians, whether it's, it could be, you know, someone, your neighbor.
Yeah, it could be the person you sit
Right.
next to church every Sunday. You just really,
Right.
that's the thing about this, like, it can happen to anyone, and anyone can be involved in it, you know, and so,
Because they make a lot of money in this. It's sick. I mean, it is sickening. It is sickening. You have the, it is really sickening. It is disgusting.
When I first got out,
Right.
which February 18th, not necessarily trafficking, but out of the industry, I stopped being trafficked in my 20s. But when I first got out of the industry, when I first started advocating and stuff, trafficking, it was trafficking, drugs, and guns. Third highest, most money-making crimes in the whole world.
Right.
Well, trafficking has moved up to number 2, following guns. So that should tell you something. In 7 years, it's moved from number 3 to number 2, which we do assume that it probably will end up number 1. But I mean, it's following guns, so you know they're neck and neck, and so that's a really scary, when you think about like a global aspect of it, right? That's a really scary thing, because you know, a couple of years, 7 years, that's nothing. So for it to move up on the chain that quick, and and it, you know, it does. What is it? Starbucks, Nike, and I think it's Google. $32 billion is how much the intake of human trafficking can make. So you're talking about a lot of power, a lot of money. You know, I always say that human trafficking is America's dirty little secret, or the world's dirty little secret, right? I can say America because I'm focused here, but yeah, it's.
Right, because they just recently found a lot of kids in another country that have been trafficked, and then, you know, and a lot of times people just gotta really realize that you have the highways, the transportations, you have trucks, the railroads, you have planes, you have the underground, you have, you know, different cargo, and all this is happening. And but one thing that people, you got to realize that, say for instance, it's very easy to happen if you're a dancer, professional dancer. It's so easy for you to get involved in that.
Yeah, I
it
mean,
really is. People go out there and they prostitute themselves, and
well, you know,
like
personally, I believe that, you know, it can happen in anything, right? And so we'll get into, when we come back, like on just different ways that it can happen, because it can happen to anybody.
Right, and it can happen to, yes, the girl next door, and we'll talk about that. We're getting ready to go on break, and thank you for tuning in with us.
Hi, my name is Renee Unique with Unite Louisville on the Plug Network Online. Check me out every Friday at noon on your lunch break. Stay connected and stay plugged in.
Are you a poet for the people? Illuminating the emotions of those who know what suffering from an unjust system feels like. Everyone doesn't have the opportunity to hold a crowd by the ear, so for us to take on that role with our God-given craft, it's only right. Are you a poet for the people? A destiny meant not for the weak. We too have suffered trials and tribulations, experienced in rebuilding what was once torn down with the words that we speak.
Positive vibes from me to you. I am LaToya with the Toy Box. Join me bi-weekly on the Plug Network Online. That's Monday nights at 7 p.m. ready to do your work. Imagine a world happy, healthy, and healed because you showed up for you. So stay plugged in.
This is Ashley with More Than Rubbing, a massage therapist guide for self-help. Tune in every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Plug Network. Stay plugged in.
All right. All right, welcome Plug family, and thank you for tuning in on your lunch break at midday. And it's cold outside, and whether you're at home or anywhere that you would like to be and just stay warm. So again, I have Summer Dickerson with me with Women of the Well. We were talking about a couple of things. So we want to make sure that people just don't fall into this stereotype, right? We were just talking about that because everyone thinks that, well, you know, this can't happen and this can happen. So what are some of the stereotypes?
You know, I think that, you know, yes, if a woman gets into like the stripping industry, you know, can trafficking happen out of that? Yes. But is that trafficking? No, it's not. You know, prostitution is also different from human trafficking. Human trafficking is usually based on force, fraud, or coercion, right? It can happen to children. It can happen to men, women, boys. It can happen to everybody. Actually, black and brown children are trafficked at a very high rate of speed, and a lot of people don't really talk about that because then, you know, we have to really address the problem of, as we all know, that, you know.
And we want to address the problem. That's why we're here. And that's the thing, because you have a lot of kids. I mean, just here recently, a lot of children have been missing.
Yeah, and so like across seas, right, they have, their trafficking is different than what our trafficking would be, right? But can kids come up missing? 100%. Can kids, you know, end up trafficked every single day? They can end up in, you know, being harmed and just a lot of really bad things happening. And how does stuff like that happen? Well, today we have phones. Everybody has a phone, right? And most of our children have phones. And before anybody, you know, watches this and says, well, I'm not going to give my children phones. Don't be like that, because, you know, they're going to go to school, they're going to go to a friend's house, they're going to get on the PlayStation. Kids are getting on the internet, whether we realize that or not, right? Even the best of best children. And so instead of trying to take it away from them, train them up, you know, like, you know, let them know, like, hey, if somebody comes into one of your chat rooms, you know, one thing about children, you know, talking to somebody for 2 days, they're your best friends, right? Like, I have children, and they're like,
oh, I know,
Mom,
I know.
right?
I have to
They're
tell
like,
my son, my 8-year-old, he said, my friend lives over in Chicago.
Exactly.
Well, who is your friend?
Exactly.
Who are you talking about the Chicago? What?
Which is, you know, again, I always say the internet is a beautiful thing, but it is definitely a double-edged sword, and we have to protect our children, right? So sit down and have those conversations with your babies, you know, and say, hey, I understand that you just met this person, but let's not share information on like where we live at, you know, because what happens is that person that your child thinks is another child could be an adult, right?
Exactly.
And so we all know as parents, we make our children upset sometimes. That's our job. And what happens? Well, my mom's getting on my nerves, you know, and this person that they just magically made friends with, all of a sudden is like, well, you know, I could come pick you up.
Exactly.
We could go meet up somewhere. And the next thing,
and they start to confide and trust.
Yeah, 100%, because that's what they do. They're going to build up. They're looking for those vulnerable spots so they can fill in, right? And so, yes, do we hear about the white van theory? Oh, someone's going to come up in a van and snatch you up and kidnap you. Or all the time on Facebook and social media, I'm getting sent posts of, hey, they're leaving a car seat in the parking lot. That's got to be trafficking. Most traffickers, they don't have to do all that work. You know what I mean? Because literally the vulnerability and the things that we're missing in those holes, everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be accepted. So I can easily do that. And, you know, if I was just hypothetically, if I was a trafficker, it would take me less time to do that than to sit here and go set all these silly traps up and follow people.
And I'm so glad you said that, because they are setting traps. Just to think about, as grown women, right? You have these dating apps, dating online, and a lot of the time you have to be careful. And you're singer, and you're meeting people. You just never know what you'll get yourself caught into.
And you want to be smart, right? Because I don't want to scare people either and be like, oh, you can't go on a dating app. All these weirdos. There's weirdos, and not all of them are traffickers, right? Like, you know, we have. a very big world with all kinds of different people, places, and things. And so just be smart. Let people know where you're going. You know, like, don't be scared to do a background check on somebody, women, like if you're going to be online datings. But as far as like trafficking and stuff like that, like, it's really, it's complicated, but it's not. It's right in front of us, right? Like, more than likely, before you get snatched by a white fan to be put in trafficking, the person next to you could be grooming kids around you all day long, and you don't even realize it, you know? If your child's coming up with purses and phones and clothes and, oh, well, my friend gave it to me at school. Look into that. Go to that school. We got to get in our children's business.
And see, that's how a lot of older men rear in. They pull
100%.
these young
you get a 13,
in.
14-year-old girl that's having, you know, has an unstable home, or what in her mind has an unstable home. Because, I mean, not all the time children, you know, have unstable homes, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we've had children that were straight A students, had both parents in the house, you know what I mean? All of that. So this, yes, the more people we, you know, the more we get, I say get in your kids' business. You know what I mean? Like, know your children's passcodes to social media. Social media is a huge, huge thing. Get to know some of the slang, because if you don't know what these children are talking about, you'll never know if somebody's grooming your kid, you know? And so as a parent, it's our responsibility to get in our kids' business. Search your children's rooms. And this isn't even just for trafficking, right? Because yes, I do help with trafficking, but we also help with the community violence that we have here in the city. And a lot of parents don't know what's going on with their kids. You know, they think because how your child is when they're in front of you, that they think that's how your kid is all the time. And I have 10 children. That doesn't work like that.
And it doesn't. It does
Your
not.
kid is a whole different
not.
human being when that child ain't around you. You know what I mean? And so get in your children's business. Search their rooms. Go through their phones. Go underneath their beds. Check everything. You know what I mean? Because our babies' lives depend on it.
Right.
You know, so it's one thing I am proud of is the community has really, I mean, you know, 7 years ago, I didn't hear people sitting around talking about human trafficking. I didn't hear people sitting around talking about certain things. Now, granted, I lived a different life. And this is something else people have to understand. Like, most victims don't realize they're victims.
Right.
You have no idea that and we don't use the slang of human trafficking.
It's the Stockholm syndrome. And
Stockholm syndrome, 100%. It's a very big, that is a very big role in that, you know, in the mental illness aspect and things like that. And so I am happy that the community is paying attention, right? And I'm so happy that, like, you know, we're raising awareness and stuff, but we have to make sure we raise the right awareness, because if every little post that we see on Facebook and we think that somebody's, you know, putting a $100 bill on your windshield and they're coming to kidnap you, that don't usually happen. I won't say can it never happen, but that's just not how trafficking happens here in our city. We have a lot of pimp control trafficking. We have familial trafficking. Familial trafficking is when a family member, a mother, a father, a brother, a uncle will trade their children for drugs. Trade their children for rent. You know what I mean? So so you want to make sure, because I know there's a lot of people from all over. Find out in your community what it looks like, right? Because in our community, it may not look the same as someone else's community. And when I say our community, I'm talking about the whole 502. I'm not talking about just one side of town, because it happens in every single spectrum of our city. Every single spectrum. Whether you go to, you know, Booker always says the hood to the holler. Well, so does trafficking.
Right.
It's the hood to the holler.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so we have to understand that. And the more active and proactive we take a fight in this in our community, you know, and men start talking to each other. You know what I mean? Holding each other accountable. I think that's
And that's another thing. Everyone thinks that this is just happening to women and little girls. No, it happens to more men. There are more men in our community that even if they haven't been trafficked, they've been sexually assaulted, right? And so every single time I have spoken everywhere in the city, and every platform you could think of, churches, halls, you know, business meetings, and every single time there is always men that come up to me and say, thank you for making a difference, right? And so we want to hear our men. We want to hear the young boys that this is going through, this is happening. And also, you know what I mean, like, even if that stuff's maybe not going on, as men, have these conversations with other men. Buying and selling people are not okay. Right.
It's not
Right.
okay. It wasn't okay.
Get a career, get a job. And we're going to get to know Summer a little bit more when we come back. We got some more to talk about and talk about some things that's going on in the community. Thank you for tuning in with us.
Hi, my name is Renee Unique with Unite Louisville on the Plug Network Online. Check me out every Friday at noon on your lunch break. Stay connected and stay plugged in.
Are you a poet for the people? Illuminating the emotions of those who know what suffering from an unjust system feels like. Everyone doesn't have the opportunity to hold a crowd by the ear, so for us to take on that role with our God-given craft, it's only right. Are you a poet for the people? A destiny meant not for the weak. We too have suffered trials and tribulations, experienced in rebuilding what was once torn down with the words that we speak.
We educate people on compliance to get through the COVID crisis. Call us at 502-299-0714. No limit cleaning. Your dirt is our business. Again, that's 502-299-0714.
Positive vibes from me to you. I am Latoya with the Toy Box. Join me bi-weekly on the Plug Network Online. That's Monday nights at 7 p.m. ready to do your work. Imagine a world happy, healthy, and healed because you showed up for you. So stay plugged in.
This is Ashley with More Than Rubbing, a massage therapist guide for self-help. Tune in every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Plug Network. Stay plugged in.
All right, and we're back. Again, my name is Renee Unique for those who just tuning in for the first time for this season, and welcome to Unite Louisville. My guest today is Summer Dickerson. And so we are going to follow up on a conversation that we were just talking about before we went on break. So, Summer, I guess, last year, man, what a year.
What a
What
year.
a year.
What a year.
What a year for us all. And I know you have been through a lot. I've been following you. I've supported. I've been there beside you. I've been, within the protest. There's been a lot that has happened and a lot is going on. So what are you working on now? And what is the transitioning from last year to this year with the organization? And because you got a lot on your plate. You got a lot going on.
Yeah,
so
we have a lot going on. So.
Yeah.
So we're kind of relaunching a couple things, with Women of the Well. We're going to kind of try to step our game up a little bit and meet the community where the community needs to be met at, right? So outreach has become a huge thing. And the reason, not just, helping our houseless community, but also so many women and so many men, can be trafficked and go through sexual crime, have things that be victims of sexual crimes, right? And so we get involved and make sure that we can help with resources and things like that. Also with the house, we do a women's shelter for women coming out of human trafficking and domestic violence. Due to some safety concerns last year, we had to close down for a little bit. So we have just recently reopened. So we're kind of relaunching that, looking for some volunteers for all that. And then educational, just getting out in these communities and getting out in the community and educating people on human trafficking and also just on the different things that we got going on. We have a lot of violence going on in our city. Like, how do we recover from that? How do we pull together as a unit and stay together, right? Because there's so many things that could divide us with the pandemic and the violence and this and that, I think it's very important for us to stay together. So that's something that just making community events where we can be together, learn together, and watch out for our, watch out for us.
And that is true. I have a women's empowerment conference coming up, and I'll talk about that. We'd like you to be part of that as well in March. And it's something that when you talk about coming together in unity, in a unified way, and when you want diversity in the city, you have to move forward, right? You move forward with collective minds to help transition what needs to be done.
Yeah.
What needs to be done.
Yeah,
Right.
we definitely
So
need
I
to, you know,
agree.
all the way for, as far as, you know, even things that we protested for, like just moving forward, how do we heal from all of that, right? How do we hold city officials accountable? We got voting and stuff coming up, so, you know, we'll all be talking about that, you know, and just...
And right, who's going to support us?
Right.
Who's going to support us? Support the people and support what we stand for.
Yeah, most definitely. And we, you know, we got 2022, I think, is when you have like judges and all kinds of elections for stuff like that. So definitely getting information out about that. Then obviously we'll have the big stuff coming up, I think, what is it, in 2024? But really just locally, just trying to take care of each other, you know what I mean? Because there's so many families that are hurting, so many families that are mourning, you know, and I just think this is a really big time that we pour into our youth. You know, on the 17th, we're doing a bunch of different stuff. Supporting Men Against Gun Violence. They're having a dinner for the youth.
Yeah, I'll be there. I got a lot of events and stuff.
Yeah. And then, of course, you know, obviously the morning we'll be doing the walk and the parade or whatever it's called on the 17th for Martin Luther King Day. So, yeah, I mean, there's lots of places that you can get involved. Like, people can hit me up on Facebook or our page on Facebook, Women of the Well, and just say, hey, you know, I would like to support you. Yes, we need support financially, but also volunteers. You know, we always say, like, we're a community-based organization, meaning we are grassroots. We want the community to come out and get involved, because this is your community too, just like it is mine. All of our babies is in these communities. And so showing those positive things, working together and being together, and even if we don't always, you know what I mean, like, we can still.
And we don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree, right? Exactly.
Right.
But,
like I think that's something that's important for me for this year, is getting people to understand that we could still have conversations even if we don't agree on everything. You know what I mean? Because there's work that needs to be done. It's about the 502.
Yes.
It's not about us individually, but it's about all of us coming together in the city and everywhere, you know, in the world. So I think it's very
once people figure
important.
that out, that it's a bigger picture than us, then I'm
Bigger
telling
picture.
you. So how can we support you, Summer, your organization, everything that you're doing? Tell everybody exactly where they can find you.
Yeah, so we are a nonprofit, and so you can go to our website at www.wowky.org. They can always email me at summerdickerson79@gmail.com if you have any kind of volunteer opportunities. And also, like, if you want me to come talk to your Bible study, your church, your kids, your women, your men's group, anything like that. You know, I tell my testimony, and that's kind of how I teach. I teach, you know, like I said, the trafficking happens long before, the trauma happens long before the trafficking does, you know. So, so those are just different ways that, you know, people can get plugged in with me. I'm all over social media, on YouTube, Hot Mess Real Talk, Summer Dickerson. So, yeah, you know, we... I
love that name, Hot Mess.
Hot Mess.
But we all are Hot Mess. You know, it's kind of what we stand for as well. So, the thing also, this is Martin Luther King weekend.
Yes, it is.
There's a lot that's going on. I will say, there is the King Solomon Baptist Church Saturday is having a Mlk Breakfast. It's a diversity breakfast with a lot of community leaders, people from the community, the neighborhoods, the city. You have some, of course, they do this every year. That will be at 10 o'clock at King Solomon Baptist Church at 16th and Anderson, I believe. Also, I'm participating in the Peace Walk. They have it every year. It's always on MLK Day. Also, that will have a lot of dignitaries and people. They always have the motorcade. So participate in that. You know, be a part of the change and the difference. Also, I'm having a day of service as well. We're going to be passing out coats and blankets at Elliott Park Monday. So it's a lot going on. I was also invited, like she said, you know, the dinner, and there's another community event. Surf Friendly Sea is also having a rally with Heavy Hitters is supporting that, sponsoring that as well. That's going to be on Cecil. I don't remember the time, but please stay connected on our social media page on the plug, and we'll have the information of all the acts of love and kindness and is one. So, you know, there's not a perfect world. We are not perfect human beings. We are not perfect people. We're not trying to. We know that it's impossible to do, but when you work with other individuals that are helping to create the change, I think we can make a perfect union. That's what I always say. And stay blessed, stay warm, stay COVID-free if you can, and thank you for tuning in with Unite Louisville. Until next time, I'm you, and have a blessed weekend.
Hi, my name is Renee Unique with Unite Louisville on the Plug Network Online. Check me out every Friday at noon on your lunch break. Stay connected and stay plugged in.
Are you a poet for the people? Illuminating the emotions of those who know what suffering from an unjust system feels like. Everyone doesn't have the opportunity to hold a crowd by the ears, so for us to take on that role with our God-given craft, it's only right. Are you a poet for the people? A destiny meant not for the weak. We too have suffered trials and tribulations, experienced in rebuilding what was once torn down with the words that we speak.
We educate people on compliance to get through the COVID crisis. Call us at 502-299-0714. No limit cleaning. Your dirt is our business. Again, that's 502-299-0714.
Positive vibes from me to you. I am Latoya with the Toy Box. Join me bi-weekly on the Plug Network Online. That's Monday nights at 7 p.m. ready to do your work. Imagine a world happy, healthy, and healed because you showed up for you. So stay plugged in.
This is Ashley with More Than Rubbing, a massage therapist guide for self-help. Tune in every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Plug Network. Stay plugged in.